mean the freedom to choose, the freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Is everybody awake this morning? No? There's Mommy. She's not going to last very long. We'll hope you'll stick around. It's good to see you again, Donna. We hope that your travels have been safe, and we're glad that you're able to join us here on the Wake Up America show. Everybody knows what to do. If you're not awake enough, you got to grab a cup of Founding Flavors coffee from the For Liberty shop. It's absolutely delicious. Let's get this show on the road. All right, so there's big news happening around the world, but instead of covering that, we're going to cover the Australian breakdancer again. I can't help it. This story has just got me laughing. And if you can believe it, there is actually more to it just than she's a bad breakdancer. Somehow she got advanced through diversity, equity, and inclusion standards. Allegedly, those standards that got her into the Olympics may have been the ones that she made up herself. Yes, she may have been the one who judged and juried herself. Well, her and her husband, allegedly, I was going down the rabbit hole of the conspiracy theories on this one yesterday. I just could not let it go. How did a woman who was such a terrible dancer make it to the Olympics? Well, it turns out that she may have done some shenanigans in order for her to get to that position. Austin, are you going to talk about any other news? Yes, I am, of course. Science proves that people who are attractive tend to live longer. Well, this explains a lot. We're going to speak to Camelia Peterson this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time about that story as well as many others. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to speak to Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian National Committee. I want to talk to her about this story that I'm reading from Reason Magazine that John Stossel wrote based on his interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And the title of it is RFK Jr. pays lip service to the debt while pushing policies that would increase it. Because of course. I mean, I don't know why so many people can't see through this guy. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I see so many people that I know that are so enamored with this guy. First of all, Kennedy. Second of all, just came out of the DNC. Third of all, been a lawyer his entire life. Fourth of all, is only changed to many of these positions when he was campaigning for office like a chameleon, which so many of the people that I know that like him, like this is like one of their main gripes about politicians. Well, they're changing their mind on things now that they're running for office. I don't believe them because they said something completely different before they campaigned for office. Yeah, classic. RFK Jr., same thing. I don't understand how so many people have been hornswoggled by the guy. But I think, you know what it is that there's always this kind of contrarianism, which I totally understand in American culture, especially third-party politics, where people are just tired of mainstream politics in general. I get it, right? You're looking for somebody that represents that. And RFK Jr. is kind of like me. I'm the guy that's against both of them, right? And listen, as somebody who operated in third-party politics, independent politics for a decade, professionally and amateur, I completely understand where people are coming from in this one, and you have every right to be upset at the way that the regime is run, the uniparty here in the United States. And there's criticisms, good criticisms that can be made of the major party candidates that I'm not going to disagree with. People often say, well, Austin, you're supporting Donald Trump, so you must agree with this thing that he said. And I'm like, no, you idiot. No, I actually, what I can see is now, after 20 years of having done politics, professional, amateur, independent, part of the main stuff. Here's what I can tell you is that most of the time what's happening is that people fail to see the bigger picture, and they fail to correctly understand where everybody else in society is coming from. Right. And this is especially a problem with people who are of my ideological ilk, right? We libertarians, because we're so individualistic that we are hyper selfish to some extent. Whereas, I know that the objectivists are going to be really angry at me for saying this, selfish, that's a good thing, right? Well, it's like, well, yes and no. I mean, in some sense, if you're talking about from an economic perspective, yeah. But if you're talking about like voting, we're trying to do something good for our communities here. Right. It's not just about weed, man. I want to smoke it. Right. And, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about MDMA, which I'm glad he is. Right. I wish that we would, legalize it for soldiers who are coming back with PTSD. I completely agree with that issue. But I mean, if you're a single issue voter because you want to smoke MDMA or something like that, it's kind of like you're not helping. You're not helping. You're failing to see the bigger picture, probably because you're on drugs. But that notwithstanding, there is a bigger picture at play here. There are bigger issues. And now, especially with a child, right, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at, there's something more than me. There's something more than me out there. There's something that I have to consider that's outside of myself. Okay. I have to think about how can I actually vote in such a way or politic in such a way that builds my community? Because I know that a healthy community is going to result in a healthy child. I know that a healthy community is going to result in a healthy family. Healthy family is going to result in a healthy community. So I really don't understand why people are so easily. No, I'll take that back. I understand why people are so easily hornswoggled by these third-party candidates. But let me just tell you something. As somebody who's known third-party candidates, known them personally, looked them in the face, worked on some of their campaigns, seen their shaking their hands, looked them in the eyes. They are some of the biggest shysters, if not some of the even bigger shysters than the people in the uniparties than you would ever imagine. They just are. They're just, oh, we're working outside the system, which doesn't automatically make you a good person. Like, just because you're not a member of the Republican or the Democratic parties doesn't automatically make you a better person. It doesn't. It doesn't. Right? Because here's the truth. The best politicians in the entire United States are Republicans. Yeah. The best. I wouldn't trade Thomas Massey for RFK Jr. in a heartbeat. I wouldn't trade Rand Paul for RFK Jr. in a heartbeat. I wouldn't trade I wouldn't trade Mike Lee in a heartbeat. I wouldn't trade Ted Cruz for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in a heartbeat. I wouldn't trade Neil Gorsuch. I wouldn't even trade Justice Kavanaugh. I wouldn't trade a lot of Republicans out there. I wouldn't trade Bob Onder for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Not at all. I wouldn't trade him, not for a damn hot second. Right? The best Republicans, and this is a low bar. You're like, oh, it was a low bar. Yeah, you goddamn right, it's a low bar. That's right. That's what we're working with here. We're working with we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here in this country. And what am I looking for? I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for better. Okay? And RFK Jr. is not taking us down the better path. Okay? It's not better. It's not. It's not. He's telling what you want to hear. You're being hornswoggled, and I'm not falling for it. Let's see if Angela McArdle is. We'll talk to her this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Click that like button if you haven't already. You already love this show, don't you? Don't you? Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? Click that like button, and if it's your first time watching the Wake Up America show today, don't worry if we haven't offended you yet. We will. So click the follow button on this channel before I offend you and chase you off and you say you're never going to come back again, so I can at least have that phantom follow, and we can look good to the kids when I say to my daughter Hazel here in a couple of years, look how many followers your daddy has. Yeah, they don't actually watch the show, honey, because I said something that offended them and chased them off. But look, he's got so many followers on Rumble. Wow. Ooh, baby, don't you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. Okay, so we're going to talk about that Spaz Aussie dancer yesterday. But before we do, I feel it required that I show you this mashup of her dance again before we get started, just so you know what we're talking about here. I don't know why that brush on the floor really got me. Yes, these do keep getting better, Dad Bob Baboon. All right, so why am I going back down this rabbit hole despite covering it extensively yesterday? Well, it's because I've now discovered a conspiracy theory surrounding Rachel Gunn, and there is a petition that at this point, when this video came out, only had 615 signatures, but it almost has its 10,000 signatures. Take a listen to this.
Ray Gunn mystery deepens. Looks like there's some corruption going on in breakdancing Australia. Who would have known? So there's this change.org petition going around to hold Rachel Gunn and Anna Mears accountable for what went on with the breakdancing. Okay, so there was no governing body for breakdancing in Australia, obviously, because it's such a niche sport. So Rachel Gunn decided to create her own governing body so that she could get the wheels in motion to get breakdancing into the Olympics. Only it seems like she didn't do it very ethically, because she appointed herself as the head of this governing body. Her husband seemed to be the judge and also the coach for the qualifiers. And the worst part of this whole thing is it looks like she has blocked genuinely good kids who are breakdancers at being able to go to Sydney for the qualifiers. This is very Machiavellian of her. It looks like she has created this ecosystem where only her and a few of her friends and her husband could exist in, so that they were pretty much guaranteed a spot in the Olympics, and actual good breakdancers from underprivileged communities like the Northern Territory didn't even get a look in for the qualifiers. If true, this is terrible. This is total corruption. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because there's no other reason why she should have gotten through to the Olympic Games compared to these other kids who are genuinely good at breakdancing. When you look at their videos, they're actually really good. And we all know that she's not. So how did she get in and they didn't? The only explanation is that they didn't go to the qualifiers. They were either not told about it or they didn't have the funds to go. So she, Stephen Bradbury'd it and got through anyway. Ray Gunn mystery deepens.
Yes. Okay. So what's going on here? Okay, so there is a change.org petition against this woman. Her name is Rachel Gunn. Hold Rachel Gunn and Anna Mears accountable for unethical conduct Olympic selection. Okay, I think I've got the petition pulled up here so we can take a look at it here. All right, so here it is. You can see it pulled up on your screen. So it's almost got 10,000 signatures. 9,416 people have signed this petition to the Prime Minister of Australia. And this is what they're calling for: immediate accountability and transparency in the recent actions of Rachel Gunn, who set up her own governing body for breakdancing. She's manipulated the selection process to her own advantage. God, this is so juicy. Despite the clear qualification and talent of other outstanding female breakdancers like G. Clef and Holly Molly, they were unfairly overlooked. The NT Yulong Boys, a group of incredibly talented people from the Northern Territory, were denied crucial funding by Dr. Gunn to attend the qualifiers, a decision that directly impacted their chance to showcase their skills on a national stage. Disturbingly, now this is wild, Dr. Gunn went on to win her own qualifier, defeating other phenomenal breakdancers, her own qualifier, raising serious questions about the fairness and integrity of the process. If Dr. Gunn's husband is indeed the Australian coach and part of the selection panel, this represents a blatant conflict of interest that cannot go unchecked. We demand a public apology. We also call for a full investigation into the selection process, into Gunn's business dealings, and a global public apology to the breaking community. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing. Breaking community. Oh my God. Rachel Gunn's lack of ethics and morals raises concerns about her fitness to teach and hold any position of authority in the sport or university. Oh my God. So this is what we're looking at here. So Australian breakdancer Ray Gunn, so her real name's Rachel Gunn, she started trending out online after her what they call seemingly unconventional performance happened at the Paris Olympics last week. In the videos that have now gone viral all over the world, she's 36 years old. She was, we could call the moves unusual, including squirming, hopping around the dance floor while touching her toes. And now this petition is circulating with accusations or allegations that Rachel Gunn gamed the selection process and prevented other talented breakdancers from making it to the qualifiers, and then had her husband judging the qualifiers so that she could eventually make it into the Olympics unethically. Bruce Burtwhistle from Canada says, Austin, like I said earlier, she just wanted a free trip to Paris. Sure, she wanted a free trip to Paris. She wanted to appear in the Olympics, and she embarrassed her entire country on stage. But here's the thing. Here's why I think this story has legs more than just Oh, it's a hilarious viral story of a woman who sucks at what she's doing and embarrassed her country, and that's that, right? This story has legs in large part because she is an activist. Okay. This is a person who has written a thesis, if you remember, deterritorializing breakdancing. Let me pull up let me pull up her wiki real quick. This is her thesis. Deterritorializing gender in Sydney's breakdancing scene, a B-girl's experience of b-boying. Okay. She wrote that in 2017. Her main interests: dance, youth cultures, ethnography, ethnography, praxis, gender, and politics. Because of course, she is an activist. But if you look at her wiki page, I mean, she is a self-described academic and competitive breakdancer. She is a lecturer in the Department of Media, Communications, Creative Arts, Language, and Literature at Macquarie University Faculty of Arts. And of course, she did not pass the first round in the Olympics where she debuted last week. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting to me, too, is not just like the recent academia, but that her entire life has been spent as a dancer. Okay. Now, I have a little bit of a background in dance. I was required to qualify with a certain level of competency in dance in order to achieve my degree at college. And I have seen fantastic dancers and I have seen terrible dancers. Now, I'm not a terrible dancer. I'm not quite Rachel Gunn bad at dancing, but I know what a really good dancer is, especially when it comes to ballroom, tap, and jazz, all of which I have taken and, in classes when I was a young man, very young. And what's interesting is that somebody who is trained in ballroom, tap, and jazz, like she has, since she was a young girl, they typically can display some level of talent for other mediums. Now, that's not always the case, right? Sometimes, like people who are classically trained as singers, for example, they aren't able to transfer to pop sounds, right? This is a conversation I've been having my entire life with my brother, who's classically trained. And we have this conversation all the time about how hard it is for him to sing rock or certain types of musical theater that's pop, just because it was beaten into him as a young man, that this is what you do, you sing like this. And so it's kind of like if my brother were to try to sing Sublime, for example, it wouldn't sound right. Did you ever listen to people who were classically trained kids growing up and they would try and sing rock? I mean, listen, my brother's voice is incredible. It's outstanding. It's the most amazing voice I've ever heard in my life. But he would admit that there are certain genres that he can't cross over to. And it's the same way with dance. There are some people who are excellent at one style of dance. Like, for example, like tap dancing. If you're good at tap dancing, that's not going to necessarily translate over into break dancing. Okay? Understand. The funny thing is that ballet, but is kind of like the base art form of all types of dance. If you're good at ballet, you're typically going to be able to be good at other forms of dance. So if she was some great ballerina, it probably would have been easier for her to transfer to breakdancing. But what it appears to be is that this woman wanted to break into an art form that she saw as insufficiently woke, and she decided that she was going to appropriate this culture that she was not of, because she must have felt left out or had some kind of a mental illness or problem where she feels like the need to, like most leftist woke feminists these days, inject herself into a space that was not meant for her, which is so ironic because we're having this conversation now about transgenders going into women's spaces that were not meant for them and the problems that it's creating, right? But here we have the leftist woke mentality. Everything that they are about these days is injecting themselves into places that they don't belong, right? Taking men, putting them into women's bathrooms, right? Taking people who can't do breakdancing and gaming the system in order to get into the Olympics, right? Preventing people who have merit from being able to access the services that they should be able to access because they deserve to be there, and gaming the system using their woke politics to get into somewhere where they don't belong. So this is why this story to me has legs. This is why I'm continuing to cover this story, And obviously, this is now more breaking news because of the fact that this Rachel Gunn is now has a petition against her. And I think it's, absolutely fascinating that we're in a situation that we need to have a deeper conversation about breakdancing, but we do. Thank you to Courtney Conover, who says, why is this white woman colonizing this black man's sport? How dare she? Thank you. Yes. That reminds me, we've raised $2 towards the $60 goal now to unlock today's bonus content. If you'd like to see today's bonus content, then make sure you get those Rumble Rant donations in. If by the end of the show today, we've raised at least $60, then you're going to see today's bonus content. And the new theme that we're running with for the bonus content starting yesterday is deeper dives into news stories that you may not be aware of. Yesterday, it was a big story that we deep dived in. Today is going to be more of an obscure story that you might not read on the front pages of any of the newspapers, but which I found fascinating. And I'd love for you to be able to unlock today. So if you'd like to find out today's bonus content and get into the nitty-gritty details of a story that I find absolutely fascinating, that we wouldn't have time to cover, or I wouldn't necessarily cover on my show in a segment or an interview, then get those Rumble Rant donations in by the end of the show. That way you guys don't have to watch commercials and it's way more fun. How do we unlock the bonus content? You can either make donations through Rumble Rants like Courtney just did, or it's a lot more fun sometimes to head over to forlibertyshop.com. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you can get all kinds of incredible patriotic merchandise. Right now, we're rocking our Identity for Donald Trump this week. White Dude for Donald Trump shirts selling like hotcakes. If you've got the guts to wear a shirt like that, you can get that out at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. We've got a great deal going on stickers right now. You can buy any 2 stickers and get 3 free. So if you go to forlibertyshop.com, that's the number 4libertyshop.com, buy 2 stickers, put 3 more in your cart, then they will automatically give you the discount for the 3 free stickers. So Reagan in the streets, Kennedy in the sheets, I think something like that on your laptop would definitely get you some attention. Big government sucks, and the Fed. Again, our sticker promo right now, buy 2 stickers, get 3 free. So head over there and put 2 stickers in your cart that you like, and then 3 more, put 5 stickers in, and 3 of those stickers will be free for you. What do you say? Yep, cool. There you go. Okay, there you go. So back to this Rachel Gunn and this conspiracy. We'll get back to the conspiracy theory here in just a moment, but I really like this mashup comparison. Who did it better, Spider? And the viral Australian breakdancer Rachel Gunn managed to crash Jimmy Fallon's show last night. Take a listen. There we go. Thank you to Rachel Dratch there from Saturday Night Live appearing on that one. This was the funniest mashup I've seen so far.
Ow!
I don't know why the brushing of the floor with the just gets me. I don't know why that gets me, but listen. What could you do? See, the only Let me ask you something, audience members. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one. But do you think that she's aware of what she's doing there? Do you think that she knows that she can't do this? Or do you think that she does this knowingly? I want to get your thoughts on this one. Send me a text, 573-319-1586. Again, text the show. Let me know, do you think that she is self-aware and that she's just doing this? Because I remember kids like her in school who were completely incapable but force themselves into position. They were aware that they couldn't do it, but they weren't going to not be included in whatever happened, right? They would go get their parents to intervene on their behalf. Like, why aren't you letting them? Aren't you including them? Right? Why aren't you including them? You have to put them on, maybe the kickball team or something like that. It'd be like, you have to go and play with them. The teacher says you have to put me on the kickball team because otherwise it's discrimination, right? So do you think that she knows that she sucks and she's doing this on purpose, kind of like the kid on the playground who knew that they sucked, but just demanded to be on the kickball team, right? Just demanded to be on, even though she knew nobody wanted her there? I want to get your thoughts on that one. Or do you think she's delusional? Mongoose 87 says he thinks that she's delusional. Andy Opperman reminds us that the world needs wannabes. So, hey, do that brand new thing. Thank you very much. Yes. Cat Dad says that she knows she's bad. I think it was an all-in act for activism's sake. Yes, that's where I'm falling on this one. I think that she knows that she's bad, and she did this deliberately because she wanted to insert herself somewhere where she knew she wasn't welcome. She knew she didn't qualify for it. So she did this. She set up this World Breakdancing Federation. I'm reading these tweets right now. This is from Little Mykonos. Says, okay, I've just got information that Aussie breakdancer Ray Gunn's husband was the judge in the qualifying contest that got her through. If this is true, we need an inquiry into this waste of taxpayer trash. Can anyone confirm? From Reddit, there is no World Breakdancing Federation or whatever to run a qualifying process. The IOC, the Olympic Committee, approached the World Dance Sport Federation, which is primarily a ballroom dancing organization. The Australian affiliate is called Dance Sport Australia, which is primarily a ballroom dancing organization. Despite never having anything to do with breakdancing, Dance Sport Australia finds itself in charge of breakdancing qualification for the Australian team. So they get in contact with Ray Gunn, a self-proclaimed breakdancing expert who has a PhD in breakdancing. Ray Gunn knows exactly what they should do. Partner with the Australian Breaking Association, and they will run your qualification for you. But the Australian Breaking Association was founded by Ray Gunn and her husband and has about 20 members. Unsurprisingly, they run a qualifier that gets 15 entrants, and Ray Gunn is selected as the women's entrant, and her husband gets appointed as the team coach. Deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole we go. One listener texted in this morning for the first time. Good to see you, by the way. Thank you. From the 570. I think she's just as oblivious to her skills as she is with her worldview. Yes. I'm willing to believe that. The real S. Dalton says they need America's best dance crew judges out there. That'd be she never would have made it if that was the case. Another listener texted in this morning, says, I think that she's in an academic bubble where she wasn't challenged at all about her skills. How many peer-reviewed papers on breakdancing does she have? One. One peer-reviewed. Now, another conspiracy that's going around is that she got a 0 on purpose. This is from the Australian news.com from Australia. 0 on purpose. A senior Australian sports official has blasted Rachel Gunn's Olympic breakdancing as, quote, disrespectful, and said Aussies aren't buying the Kool-Aid. So another conspiracy theory that's circulating on this dancer is that she did this as on purpose. So Olympic breakdancer Dr. Rachel Gunn has been accused of aiming for 0 points on purpose and being disrespectful to other Australian athletes. The harsh criticism is in contrast to growing calls for people to lay off Gunn, who is known as Ray Gunn in competition despite her poor performance in Paris. So yeah, there are a lot of people who are standing up for Rachel Gunn, like this head of or a coach from Australia. Here is a typically emotive performance from a fellow female who wants to act as if the reason why we're attacking Rachel Gunn is the fact that she's a woman, because of course.
What I can say is that I love Rachel, and I think that what has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story, in 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport.
I played this clip yesterday, but I missed that part. Okay, so she said, listen, I'm not trying to bully the mentally ill here too much, but like, let me just say something here. She says she was locked in a room crying because she was in a male-dominated sport. Oh my God, I'm gonna try not to be extremely hateful here. I want to pour acid all over this woman's head, metaphorically speaking, not literally, in Minecraft. Okay. But I want to pour acid all over these ideas. I want to pour acid all over this worldview. I want to pour acid all over this mindset. Like, hold on one second here.
Being involved at time has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story, in 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport as the only woman.
In 2008, she was locked in a room. So I assume she locked herself in the room. Okay, so I don't imagine that the male, I'm sure it would have been an international freaking incident. If a bunch of, can you imagine? It sounds like somebody should have locked her in a room, to be honest, and kept her from getting out. But imagine if a bunch of males, breakdancers, locked Rachel Gunn into her room and bullied her until she was crying. That story would have been, we all would have had to wear, like Bill Burr says in his comic sketch, we all would have had to wear the most homosexual color for an entire week in remembrance of Rachel Gunn because she was locked in a room and bullied mercilessly in 2008 and crying because she was in a male-dominated sport. So let's just assume that she did this to herself, because if she hadn't, then we would have heard about it for months. I really hate this victimhood bullshit, but especially when it's like, did you ever see that meme where it's a cartoon of a guy drawing pictures of monsters and fire, and it's like all this panoramic scenery of all these dangerous and scary things, and he's like drawing it himself, and then he lays down in front of it and is like acting scared of all of the terrors that he created? This is exactly that kind of a scenario. Like, Rachel Gunn invented something to be offended about, sat around watching breakdancing and said to herself, there must be some way that this victimizes me. There must be some way that this victimizes me. And she made an entire career out of it. That's how pathetic this woman is. Her entire life surrounded by the lives that she built up around herself. Austin, why are you talking about this and going on for a freaking hour about this seemingly obscure subject that people are just laughing about? Why don't you just move on? This is endemic to our society. This is the cancer in Western civilization. This is what we must get: the scalpel, we must get the clamps, we have to get the scissors, we have got to cut out of our society this attitude and mindset. She's supposed to be lifted up and lionized. We're supposed to admire her because she locked herself in a room crying over the fact that she was trying to break into a position dominated by men. And when she you know what she did? She took all the time crying in a closet. She took all of this time crying in a closet, and she never took the time to actually learn how to break dance. If she spent half as much time writing a thesis about deterritorializing breakdancing as she did actually breakdancing, she might actually be a good breakdancer by now. But no, she spent all of her time and her energy. She spent all of her time and her energy trying to use her gender to advance herself in her career. And now, as it turns out, she actually kept people, young people, and actual women who are good at breakdancing, who are, might I say, at least probably 10 years younger than her. She's 38 years old, who were good at breakdancing, from actually being able to qualify by conspiring with her husband to keep people away from the competitions in Australia who might have outshone her performance or shown how awful she is as a breakdancer, and she never would have been able to compete in the Olympics if it weren't for the fact that she seems to have gained the entire process. Now, I'm reading this story this morning. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. Nice to see you. Looks like the numbers are jumping. We might have made it to the front page here. If so, welcome to the show. We'd be glad to have you be a regular guest. Click the like button. And if you're enjoying this content, make sure as well that you click the follow button before you leave today. Come back and join us. This show is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We're talking about the Australian breakdancer Rachel Gunn, aka Ray Gunn, and the conspiracy theory, but maybe conspiracy fact, that emerged yesterday when a petition came out that showed that she conspired to create an organization, her and her husband, that prevented actual talented breakdancers from making it into the qualifying events for the Olympics. Let me just play this quick little clip for you for all the new people who are joining us live right now so that you can see what this is all coming from. This will give you a quick recap so I can get back into taking on Rachel's woke activism, and we'll continue. Take a listen to this.
Ray Gunn mystery deepens. Looks like there's some corruption going on in breakdancing Australia. Who would have known? So there's this change.org petition going around to hold Rachel Gunn and Anna Mears accountable for what went on with the breakdancing. Okay, so there was no governing body for breakdancing in Australia, obviously, because it's such a niche sport. So Rachel Gunn decided to create her own governing body so that she could get the wheels in motion to get breakdancing into the Olympics. Only it seems like she didn't do it very ethically, because she appointed herself as the head of this governing body. Her husband seemed to be the judge and also the coach for the qualifiers. And the worst part of this whole thing is it looks like she has blocked genuinely good kids who are breakdancers at being able to go to Sydney for the qualifiers. This is very Machiavellian of her. It looks like she has created this ecosystem where only her and a few of her friends and her husband could exist in, so that they were pretty much guaranteed a spot in the Olympics, and actual good breakdancers from underprivileged communities like the Northern Territory didn't even get a look in for the qualifiers. If true, this is terrible. This is total corruption. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because there's no other reason why she should have gotten through to the Olympic Games compared to these other kids who are genuinely good at breakdancing. When you look at their videos, they're actually really good. And we all know that she's not. So how did she get in and they didn't? The only explanation is that they didn't go to the qualifiers. They were either not told about it or they didn't have the funds to go. So she, Stephen Bradbury, it and got through anyway. Ray Gunn mystery.
So if you're just tuning into the show, we're talking about that Australian dancer of the Olympics who just absolutely biffed her appearance and can't dance to save her life, but managed to qualify for the Olympics. Well, it appears as if the fact is that she may have rigged the game, rigged the system in Australia so that she could get in, right? So there's a petition now on change.org. It's almost hit 10,000 people, right? And it says, hold Rachel Gunn accountable for the unethical conduct of the Olympic selection. So the NT Yulong Boys, which is a group of incredibly talented and underprivileged youth from the Northern Territory, were denied crucial funding by Dr. Gunn to attend the qualifiers, a decision that directly impacted their chance to showcase their skills on a national stage. It further claimed immediate accountability and transparency by Ray Gunn for playing an unethical role in the selection process of Australian female breakdancers for the Olympics. It's also called for a thorough investigation into the selection process, along with an audit of Ray Gunn's business dealings. And it alleged that this impacts the sanctity of breakdancing as a sport, but also her fitness to teach and hold any positions of authority. The sanctity of breakdancing, folks. That's what we're talking about here. Well, not really. Sidewalk just sent me a text. He says, maybe she was supposed to go to the Special Olympics and they just got confused. You know, Australia being upside down and all. Oh, Sidewalk. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. I imagine that for many of the hundreds of you tuning in live right now, it's probably the first time that you've ever heard or seen of the Wake Up America show. And we'd be glad to have you be a regular guest. We hope that we can earn your follow here over at rumble.com. If you can, do us a favor, click that follow button right now underneath the feed so that you can come back and join us for our regular schedule. Our URL is rumble.com/AP for Liberty. I'm AP for Liberty. And we'd love to have you be a regular guest of the show and come back and join us again on our regular schedule, which is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time is the show schedule. We're always having a lot of fun here talking about the news and politics. If you want to stay up to date with what's happening in the world, then this is a great place to do it. So make sure that you click the follow button before you leave today and come back and join us again tomorrow morning. We always got something special cooked up for you. Mongoose87 over in the Rumble chat dropped a rant. Thanks for that. Says, typical affluent white female liberal behavior. Awful. The acronym there. It's not really about decolonizing anything, correct? It's about an awful, affluent white female liberal injecting herself so she can be the main character. Thank you. Yes, Mongoose87. Excellent. Just for those who are new, the Rumble rants go towards unlocking bonus content on the Wake Up America show. Every day I produce a mini documentary. And today's no different. If you'd like to see the bonus content today instead of commercials when I go to get my friend Camelia here in less than 10 minutes, my first guest on the show, then get Rumble Rants in early so that we can watch the bonus content instead of going to commercials. I think my commercials are fun because I produce them myself. But if you'd like to see our bonus content, then please make a Rumble Rant donation today to help to support the Wake Up America show. We've raised $9 of the $60 goal. Ooh. If we don't raise the $60 by the end of the show, then the mini documentary goes away forever. It doesn't come back. So make sure you get those Rumble Rants in early. Or you can also go to forlibertyshop.com, and any product purchases that are made during the 2-hour live show count towards the $60 total. So that's the best way to do it. Visit forlibertyshop.com. JM Cassidy, might be your very first time here on the show. If so, welcome to the program. We'd love to have you guys stick around. Anybody new here this morning, make sure that you click that follow button and come back and join us on the regs. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. Real quick, I want to send you a message from our friends over at rumble.com. Have you heard about the recent advertising scandal? Let me break this down for you. From the CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, he recently released an email from Inspire Brands and Dunkin' Donuts. The email explicitly states the right-wing culture of Rumble is too polarizing. In other words, Dunkin' Donuts has a problem with people like us, right-wing culture, and they want nothing to do with it or Rumble. So here's the solution. Stop buying products that don't support you and start supporting brands that support you. The competing coffee brand that Rumble offers is Rumble's 1775 coffee. For a limited time, Rumble's offering 2 bags of coffee and get 1 for free. Go to 1775coffee.com and enter promo code Duncan to get that limited time deal. And we appreciate rumble.com for making those live reads available and helping us to grow our revenue streams. Thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in. And don't forget, for all the regulars too, to click the like button on the stream to help us to spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. So let me play this video again one more time. Well, let me play the terrible breakdancing again one more time. And then the video from the coach in Australia who's defending Rachel Gunn.
Keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story, in 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport.
So she locked herself in a room and invented a way to feel victimized where she was not a victim before and was crying. Therefore, we're supposed to feel bad for her because she locked herself in a room crying like a spoiled 8-year-old rather than actually locked herself in a room and taught herself breakdancing. She learned how to be a professional victim. Is that what you're saying there?
As the only woman, and it took great courage.
She's not the only woman in Australian breakdancing, by the way. There were other women who wanted to compete, but Rachel Gunn kept them out because they were talented and she wanted to game the system.
For her to continue on and fight for her opportunity to participate in a sport that she loved, and that got her to winning the Olympic qualifying event to be here in Paris.
Winning the Olympic qualifying event where her husband was one of the judges.
Female that we have for Australia. Now you look at the history of what we have had as women athletes has faced in terms of criticism, belittlement, judgment, criticism, and simple comments like they shouldn't be there. 100 years ago, leading into Paris 1924, Australia sent a team of 37 athletes. None were women. 100 years later, we have 256 women represented here. And Ray Gunn.
So you see how the left lies and how they obscure the facts. They take something that's a fact, and then they build an entire bullshit narrative around it. That's what this woman just did, right? 100 years ago, there were no women in the Olympics, and now there's 12 of them today. And one of them one of them had to lock herself in a room crying because she was a woman in a male-dominated sport. It's like all of this. So they take a fact and then they weave a narrative around it, right? It reminds me again of that conversation I was having with my wife on the show on Friday about the hook, right? The blues traveler, right? It doesn't matter what I say, as long as I say it with inflection. And there is something amiss. I am being insincere. Still, my confession draws you near. It's the hook, right? It's the lies that they tell these stories, right, to make you feel comfortable. Familiar heroes from long ago, because the hook brings you back. On that you can rely. And then the whole thing is dee-dee-dee, 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 pack of bells, cannon in D, right? Because the hook brings you back. Thank you to Robbie. Just unlocked the bonus content for you. Means you don't have to watch commercials to get to watch the awesome new bonus content today. We're going in a new direction. Today we find out the true story of ancient Babylonian tablets that were just deciphered. Find out more about that. We'll be right back with Camille on that story, on a different story, the Ray Gunn story, when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Wake Up America show's bonus content. Today we deep dive on a story you may not have heard. A 4,000-year-old Babylonian tablet was deciphered. Researchers finally deciphered a set of 4,000-year-old Babylonian tablets, and the messages aren't about bright hopes for the future. Researchers finally deciphered a set of 4,000-year-old Babylonian tablets, and the messages aren't about bright hopes for the future, but are nearly all death, doom, and gloom. The 4 clay tablets that have cuneiform scrawled across them predict the deaths of kings and the downfalls of civilizations, according to a recent study published in the Journal of Cuneiform Studies. The ancient artifacts were discovered more than 100 years ago in present-day Iraq and are a part of the British Museum's collection, but only now have been translated into modern language. The fortune-telling from the peoples of southern Mesopotamia was based on the movement of the moon, specifically lunar eclipses, when the moon falls behind the Earth's shadow. The tablets date back some 4,000 years to the area of Sipparan, an ancient Babylonian city southwest of what is now Baghdad. Trustees of the British Museum. They represent the oldest examples of compendia of lunar eclipse omens yet discovered, report authors Andrew George and Junko Taniguchi wrote. The Babylonians analyzed the eclipses by time of night, movement of shadow, duration, and dates, which they then used to predict what was to come, according to the study. They believed events in the sky were signs from gods warning about the futures of earthbound peoples and rulers. The omens inscribed on the tablets include a king will die, destruction of Elam, an area in Mesopotamia in what is now Iran, if an eclipse becomes obscured from its center all at once and clear all at once, Live Science reported. Another predicts the downfall of Subartu and Akkad, 2 other regions of the time, if an eclipse begins in the south and then clears. Other concerning omens indicate there will be an attack on the land by a locust swarm, there will be losses of cattle, and that a large army will fall. The tablets were discovered 100 years ago in present-day Iraq, but have never been deciphered until now. Trustees of the British Museum. Some of the omens may have been based on previously observed coincidences between the timing of eclipses and major happenings, according to George, an emeritus professor of Babylonian at the University of London. The origins of some of the omens may have lain in actual experience. Observation of portent followed by catastrophe, he told Live Science. Still, most were likely based on theories rather than real evidence. The tablets likely originate from Sippar, an ancient Babylonian city southwest of what is now Baghdad, according to the professor. They were used by advisors to the king to predict the future. Those who advised the king kept watch on the night sky and would match their observations with the academic corpus of celestial omen texts, the authors wrote in the study. To get a second opinion on the likelihood of the omens becoming reality, the advisors would study the entrails of sacrificed animals to determine whether the king was in real danger, according to the researchers. They would also perform rituals to ward off the bad omen and prevent the predictions from happening, George and Taniguchi wrote. Or the Babylonians would appoint a substitute king ahead of the forthcoming danger, so that person would bear the brunt of the god's wrath and eventually be killed, while the real king would remain unharmed, according to NASA. The Babylonian astronomers became able to predict lunar eclipses with a fair accuracy, the Space Administration noted. The finding comes on the heels of two ancient North American structures collapsing within just 9 days of each other. A pyramid at the Ahuatzio Archaeological Zone in the Mexican state of Michoacan, and the Double Arch in Utah. But there's a more supernatural explanation, according to Purepecha tribe members. For our ancestors, the builders, this was a bad omen that indicated the proximity of an important event, Taria Quiri Alvarez told the U.S. Sun.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Hope you enjoyed that bonus content. Thanks to Robbie Thurman and Courtney Conover, as well as, let's see, who else? Mighty Megatron, Mongoose87 for helping unlock the bonus content today. You got to find out that story about those 4,000-year-old ancient tablets that have been deciphered. That's the kind of story that, like, I would love to talk about on the show, but I wouldn't spend a whole segment or do an interview surrounding. But now the bonus content theme will deep dive into stories that maybe we don't have time for on the show, or I think that we should do just a little bit more digging and find out. I hope you enjoyed that one. Yeah, AI doesn't get it perfect, but I think it's really interesting, all the drawings and paintings and pictures that it comes up with for some of these news stories that came out today. If you enjoyed that content, then we hope you'll be a regular guest. I love seeing whenever we have huge numbers, obviously, because it stokes the ego for sure. But I mean, it's also just really fun to see people discovering the Wake Up America show, finding out who we are and what we're all about, and hopefully we get to make some new friends. So if you're one of the, let's see, 879 people on Rumble right now, probably about 600 of you maybe for the first time ever watching us, might be saying to yourselves, well, this is a fun show. When does it air? Can I hang out in the Rumble chat? And can I come back and join these guys regularly? Sure you can. We're 5 days a week. So every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, this show streams live, and it's a great way to get your news with a cup of coffee, make some friends in the Rumble chat, hang out, a little bit of free speech, a little bit of fun, and of course, we stay as informative as we can. So click that follow button right now, or at least before you leave the chat today, before you leave the stream, so you can come back and join us again tomorrow. Okay, so we're talking about the politics of Rachel Gunn, aka Ray Gunn, the Australian breakdancer who went viral for her terrible performance, where we are now finding out that there is more to the story. A petition, which has gone viral, is demanding an inquiry, an investigation into how she exactly got into the Australian Olympics. Turns out she may have had her husband in the judging qualifying committee that she set up herself to be able to keep her in the running and send her to the Olympics, while they kept other people out of the competition to ensure that people who were actually competent and qualified wouldn't be able to make it onto the team. I hate to say it right now, but I'm crawling in flies in the studio. So if you see me gesturing madly, it's not because I smell like poop. I had a nice shower. It's because this studio, for some reason, just crawling with flies. Oh my God. Can I just get a guest in here to take over for me? Camelia Peterson joining us right now. Buzz, buzz, buzz. What's up, CJ? How you doing?
Good morning. Well, I think, maybe my next career trajectory might be, I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried breakdancing, but give it a shot, right? I mean,
no, now you can. Now that we all believe that we can do breakdancing, thanks to this Rachel Gunn.
Well, first of all, I'm an American, which means I can do anything right. Second of all, I'm a woman, which really means I can do whatever I want.
That's right. That's right. So so when you're a woman, you can do anything, right? So when you saw this viral breakdancer, Rachel Gunn, did you think that, this is just a one-off story, or were you surprised to learn that there was more to it when we found out like what her degree is and her background?
So Surprised that there was more to it, but also not surprised because it was like, oh, this makes so much more sense now. I mean, like, and it was also like, oh my gosh, are we like par for the course anymore? Like, this is where we are, and not just in American culture, but worldwide, obviously. And I also have to think like, does she not have any self-awareness? Does she not feel foolish, on the world stage and being the mockery of of the entire world? I don't get it. Like, my self-esteem would be devastated.
Well, you're obviously not a leftist woman, Camelia, but I mean, from the mindset of these types, it strikes me as unbelievably arrogant, especially because this is probably the type of person, as my brother had pointed out, the type of person who would complain about white people's cultural appropriation. But this is the definition of that. And
Yeah, right.
and now we're finding out that she may have actually prevented other capable people from making it. This really is the reason why I'm focused on this, is because this really is what we talk about when we complain about diversity, equity, inclusion standards, because she literally has been put in that position because she is a woman in academia who wrote a paper about deterritorializing this. This is identity over merit, is it not?
Oh, well, for sure. Everything is so backwards in it because you talked about cultural appropriation, but then she wrote this thesis on deterritorialization or whatever. I mean, those two things are not the same. Like, how can you do that? And the fact that, you can even write your thesis for anything on something like that goes to show you the state of academia right now to begin with. But just insanity. And the thing is that, there are different kinds of women in the world, and this is what feminism has done to us.
Let's hear it, Camelia. Tell us about the different kinds of women in the world.
There are women who have always been determined and strong and skilled and good at what they do, or, to survive whatever, haven't been held back by, societal limitations. They found a way to do things and they've contributed significantly to society. They're not the same as the women we have now, who are the boss babe, types who have an axe to grind, and they are determined to show you, who is boss and that they are better than you are, even if they're really not. Like, you must acknowledge them and you cannot question them. And we are not the same.
You are not the same. That is completely true. I mean, because here's the thing, the way that it appears, at least from this petition that is trying to launch an inquiry into her, is that she actually used an institution that she created to prevent capable female breakdancers from competing against her, and then stack the deck with her husband in a position to judge her so that she could go on to the Olympics. So let me ask you this, though. Do you think that she went into this knowing that she was terrible? Do you think that she went into this knowing full well that she was awful in that way I was describing it earlier, as like the type of people who would be like, on the playground, the teacher says you have to put me on the kickball team, so you have to put me on there. It doesn't matter that I'm going to destroy everything and I suck my thumb in the field and I don't actually play or contribute and I actually make things worse and whine and complain about everything. You have to include me on the kickball team, right? Is it that mentality, or do you think she's actually oblivious? Like, do you think that she actually thinks she's good?
I think that the best liars are that we can lie to ourselves. I think people can fool themselves like no one else. And I think that's exactly, what she has done. Is there is no self-awareness. She's been lying to herself. I mean, the very fact of what she teaches and what, this thesis she wrote, and the fact that she's even gone down this path in her life speaks to that. There is no self-awareness. Society has told her that everything that she wants to believe about herself is valid and true. And so I just think that the self-awareness is not there. And the sad thing is that not only has she lied to herself and society has lied to her, but all of these people in her life.
Well, I mean, you've done a little bit of time in like music and theater and creative arts and stuff like this. I mean, you don't want to destroy completely a child's ego unless it
Sure.
needs to be destroyed. But I mean, at some level, like when you see people in like choir or theater, things like that, like you don't give the crappiest kid the solo, right? You don't put
Yeah.
them in that situation because it's bad for them. You're going to embarrass them. Here's the thing: the deeper, sadder story about this. Nobody loves her enough to tell
Yeah.
her not to do this. Like I remember seeing kids in school who were terrible at art or whatever, and you can die from encouragement. These kids went on trying to get careers in this profession, and it's like they had no business being on stage. They had no business being in choir. They had no business dancing or doing anything of the sort, but nobody loved them enough to tell them no. Isn't that really the saddest commentary on all this?
It really is, because now this is where she is, and the world is making fun of her, and she has to find a way to justify that to herself. And these people around her are still publicly coming to her defense. I mean, they could just not say anything, right? But they're publicly coming to her defense, which just perpetuates the lie in the face of everything that says it's not true. And I think about this. So growing up in the church in my childhood, you always saying specials at church, right? Everybody's getting older, like you should recognize whether or not, you're you're giving everybody a treat to listen to or not. And so but I saw so many times over and over again where some people who just were objectively terrible would, get lifted up and elevated, and people are like, oh, you're so good, do it again. And so they went on with this kind of delusion that they were, bringing something really special and talented to the audience. And the fact of the matter was they weren't, and everybody else knew that, but nobody wanted to be honest about it. I was very fortunate in that. Can I carry a tune? Yes. Am I fantastic and I'm going to go perform? Probably not. But I also had people in my life who would tell me those things too, or they would tell me where I needed to improve or what I needed to do better.
Amelia, did you hear me play that clip from that coach earlier who was talking about her and was saying how much she loves her and
Yes.
and how she, like, in 2008, Rachel Gunn was locked in a closet and crying about being a female in a male-dominated sport. You're rolling your eye. Why are you rolling your eye?
Oh my gosh. I think I was typing in the chat at the time. I was like, she shouldn't lock herself in closets like that. I was like, holy cow. And I'm sorry, but if you're Miss, feminist, I can make this in a male world. Like, what kind of weak girl boss crud is that? I mean, come on. Like, get out there and show those men who you are. Don't let them do that to you.
Over 2,100 people watching us live over on rumble.com. Hey, everybody. Who are we? Who are you? It's the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson, the host of the show. I'm joined by my friend, Camelia Peterson. We're not related, but we are good friends, and she's a regular Tuesday, Thursday guest on the program. If you're enjoying this content, we do this 5 days a week. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. Come back and join us every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central. Make sure you click that follow button. We don't normally get this massive of an audience, so we'd love to capture as many of you as we can before the show ends today. So please do click that like button and follow us here on the channel so you can find us again tomorrow morning at the same time. Camelia joins us, by the way. If you like Camelia, she joins us every Tuesday and Thursday here at 8 a.m. Central Time on the show. So make sure you put that on your calendar if you're like, I'm a big fan of Camelia. I want to hear what she has to say. Her commentary is always great, spectacular, sparkling, and she's beautiful. And yes, she does have one eye. That's why the joke earlier, she rolled her eye. So can you tell which one is the question? Camelia, the lovely lady. Let's talk about a different subject for a few minutes here. The Elon Musk, Donald Trump conversation last night got off to a bit of a rocky start, but I imagine, a lot of people were trying to tune in to take a listen to it. I listened to it for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes until I had to go help with my newborn duties, responsibilities. I can't just jet off for a space
Right.
these days like I used to, so we got to take care, do that tag teaming for the new baby.
Good job.
But I did miss the part that you were talking about, and I saw other people talking about, where Elon was kind of schooling Donald Trump, not in a negative way, but they're kind of helping him to understand the problems of inflation. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. Well, so I told somebody last night who also was not listening to it live that really the first, I don't know, after they finally got started, the first 45 minutes or so of the conversation was, anyways, it's really not worth going back into and spending your time with, because it was just a lot of kind of rehashing of the assassination attempt and some other things like that. Things that we really all heard him speak about before already. However, when they started to get into really some more policy oriented topics, that's when it really got good. And I'm like over here tweeting, it's like, somebody cool me down, because like,
She has the
but no,
vapors.
I
She
mean,
has the vapors.
I have the vapors. He's smelling salts. No, I mean, so Trump at one point was like, we need to have a government efficiency commission, and Elon Musk can head it up. And I'm like, yes. No, it actually was Elon Musk's idea, and Trump named it. But Elon was like, we need somebody to hold accountable these government agencies and make sure that they're spending their money wisely, right? And I'm thinking that's like a pipe dream, Elon. But okay, like the government never spends anything wisely, but we should try. So anyway, they talked about that, and then and Elon was really guiding this part of the conversation, which I very much appreciated. So he talked about Argentina and the things that Milei did. Of course, Trump is a big Milei fan. And, Elon talked about, cutting government spending. And then they started talking about cutting the department, or abolishing the Department of Education. And I'm really getting excited, right? And so, one of the things I appreciated when Elon was talking with him about the issue of immigration, because they got onto the issue of immigration. And I think what Elon really brings to that conversation is a balanced view, because he very deliberately points out that, we need immigration, but we need it done the right way. He understands the balance in that issue, and really highlighted that, which I think was important. But he also spent a lot of time talking about the need for deregulation. If there's probably anybody who understands that, it's him, right? And so the idea that, we are hampering our entrepreneurs in this country so much and stifling innovation because of the heavy hand of government. And so I loved that they talked about some real policy things like that. And Missouri, even locally at home, Missouri even did something like that in this last legislative session, where they passed what they called sandbox legislation that basically gives, somebody trying something new. It's kind of like when Trump talked about right to try, right? Somebody comes in with their business and they want to try something new. They have this kind of the sandbox, this window of time that they can do this without being hampered by all of these restrictions and regulations, to see if this works and what's needed or not needed. And this is also a way for us to assess whether or not we've got regulations on the books that are just not needed there anymore. So I really appreciated that they talked about a lot of those things. People would comment on my things on Twitter, and they'd be like, oh, well, like, Trump's already, he was in for 4 years, and did he do any of that stuff? And I'm like, that aside, some of those things, a lot of those things, no. And I totally understand that. And, I hope that he does that this next time around. I'm not necessarily counting on it, but I think that there is enormous value in having those conversations, and for 1.2 million people to hear that rhetoric live, not to mention like it's probably up to 75 million or more now who have viewed it or heard it. So there is value in the rhetoric itself. And it did crack me up, because Trump told Elon that he had a fertile mind. And so, I mean, it's true, but it was more of a conversation. I thought it was really good, especially that last, half or 3/4 of it. And it made me laugh toward the end because they were kind of doing the Midwest goodbye. And Trump would be like, well, kind of wrapping it up. And then they'd go on some other rabbit trail or something. It was just like a normal conversation that you and I would have. And and Elon is an optimist. He's white pilled, which I think is also important for people to hear right now, too. So I enjoyed it, after you get past the first, 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was all I was able to listen to. So it was all kind of a bit of a rehash. And all the exciting stuff, it sounds like, happened towards the end. Donald, one of the points in there that I did hear was when Donald Trump called Biden's replacement with Harris a coup, which if you think about it, it really was. If what we're hearing is true, it really was a coup, because it appears as if Barack Obama had approached Biden and said, we have the votes to remove you using the 25th Amendment and Kamala Harris's approval, which would have been the final key to turn in order to end that. If that is what happened, that Barack Obama threatened Joe Biden with removal if he didn't step down, that is quite literally a coup, isn't it?
Absolutely. I don't know if they think that we're all dense, or what, but
They do.
Like, you can't have two brain cells to rub together and not just watch how this has unfolded and think that this wasn't planned in how it was executed. It was a planned strategy. You could just see it as it came out, and that, oh, well, he would consider stepping down if a doctor, is like this gradual giving, and then conveniently, oh, he had COVID over the weekend. And no, then he's, releasing a statement. And it just is, there were too many things, and, we're mostly not idiots. So
now, it sounds as if, and I didn't get this from your explanation, and again, I missed it last night, Trump actually praised Javier Milei directly. He's great. He's great, Trump told Musk. I hear he's doing a really terrific job. He's going to make Argentina great again.
Yes.
That is, I mean, therein alone is a good enough reason for me to vote for Donald Trump, is that he seems to, despite the problems that we had with bump stocks, or the amount of money he spent during his administration, right, which you could write off to COVID, and the missteps along the way, it sounds like Trump's instincts are typically on board. If he understands at a base understanding of what Javier Milei is doing, that he's doing the right thing in Argentina, I think that the second Trump term will be way better than the first if we can get him across the finish line. When I hear that kind of talk.
I hope so. And here's what I would point out about that, though, because I don't think, my opinion that Trump is not ideologically grounded has not changed, right? But I do think that he sees the success Milei has had, because it's not like he's been a Milei supporter and proponent for the last 2 years or 3 years, which is the length of time that some of us have been watching Milei's rise. And what he's been doing over there. But, when he saw the momentum that Milei was making and gaining, and his success in the election and all of those things, and as that success has grown, this is kind of a populist thing. He recognizes that success, and he does, I think that appeals to him, which is like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally good. That's part of why this conversation with Elon Musk excites me. It's not because I think that Trump has these instincts necessarily and does these things on his own, but I think it's so important who he listens to, who has his ear, and who is around him that is giving him this kind of information. I mean, when Elon Musk is explaining to him how inflation actually works, and government debt and spending, and how it is a tax on the American people, I think that, he's likely to listen to those things, and that Elon will hold some influence, which, can I just say, like, watching the character arc of Elon Musk over the last, 3-4 years, like, what a time to be alive. It's been amazing.
I'm just glad that he didn't go the Joe Rogan way and endorse Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or some stupid crap like that. Elon is actually serious about making substantive changes. I mean, watching Donald Trump and Elon Musk team up here in the United States, it's like almost at the level of like Javier Milei-ness here. Not quite, sure. But it's like, if something like that were to happen here in the United States, this country would be so much better off. And they need to hire somebody like yourself, Camellia. Is there anything else that we missed that you'd like to share, or that you'd like to talk about before we let you go?
Just one more thing I would like to say. One thing that Elon said that I think is really true, and he kind of ended it on this note, is that he did say that, it very much, he's convinced that we are at a fork in the road of destiny, for our civilization. And so what we do now matters. And, I would take that a step further. And, we here at your local level, right? I think a lot of people get very discouraged because you think like, if this is too big of a problem, we can't do this. Like, it's too big. We need big, strong people who are in charge and doing great big things like Elon Musk or Donald Trump to fix it. We need somebody to save us. Nobody is going to save you. And historically, when you go back through and look at history, the things that you don't see written in all of the major things that are taught to us are all of the little people who are all doing their part to move the needle in their local communities. And those things snowball and add up until you get that catalyst that really creates these societal changes and these leaps forward. And so what you do matters. So do your part, no matter how small or big.
There we go. Do your part, no matter how small or big. Camelia Peterson on the front lines for liberty here in the state of Missouri. And of course, she joins us here on our national show every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time. Camelia, we appreciate you very much. Thanks for putting up with all of the good-natured ribbings that I give you and all of the difficult topics. We appreciate you.
Of course. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much. Let's give her another round of applause. What do you say? If you enjoyed Camelia, make sure you come back and join us for her regular time slot, 8 a.m. Central on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we'd love to have you be a regular guest on the program. Make sure you click the follow button on the feed before you leave, so you'll be able to find us again tomorrow. It's every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. I'm so excited to see 2,300 people watching us live over on Rumble. I hope that we can at least get a few of you to come over and join us regularly for this show. That would be a huge help to us. Help us spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty and have some fun while you're doing it. That's what we're all about here on the Wake Up America show. All right, well, Ian Howarth fled England to come to the United States. Riots in the UK over migrant assaults and attacks. They're saying they're white nationalists, that they're Nazis. They're saying that those people need to go to jail because of their free speech. Let's talk to someone who fled the UK for those reasons and more. Ian Howarth, when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. And I didn't push the button in time, so I've got to look like a fool. We'll be right back.
Wake Up America show's bonus content. Today, we deep dive on a story you may not have heard. A 4,000-year-old Babylonian tablet was deciphered. Researchers finally deciphered a set of 4,000-year-old Babylonian tablets, and the messages aren't about bright hopes for the future. Researchers finally deciphered a set of 4,000-year-old Babylonian tablets, and the messages aren't about bright hopes for the future, but are nearly all death, doom, and gloom. The 4 clay tablets that have cuneiform scrawled across them predict the deaths of kings and the downfalls of civilizations, according to a recent study published in the Journal of Cuneiform Studies. The ancient artifacts were discovered more than 100 years ago in present-day Iraq and are a part of the British Museum's collection, but only now have been translated into modern language. The fortune-telling from the peoples of southern Mesopotamia was based on the movement of the moon, specifically lunar eclipses, when the moon falls behind the Earth's shadow. The tablets date back some 4,000 years to the area of Siparan, an ancient Babylonian city southwest of what is now Baghdad. Trustees of the British Museum. They represent the oldest examples of compendia of lunar eclipse omens yet discovered, report authors Andrew George and Junko Taniguchi wrote. The Babylonians analyzed the eclipses by time of night, movement of shadow, duration, and dates, which they then used to predict what was to come, according to the study. They believed events in the sky were signs from gods warning about the futures of earthbound peoples and rulers. The omens inscribed on the tablets include a king will die, destruction of Elam, an area in Mesopotamia in what is now Iran, if an eclipse becomes obscured from its center all at once and clear all at once, Live Science reported. Another predicts the downfall of Subartu and Akkad, 2 other regions of the time, if an eclipse begins in the south and then clears. Other concerning omens indicate there will be an attack on the land by a locust swarm, there will be losses of cattle, and that a large army will fall. The tablets were discovered 100 years ago in present-day Iraq, but have never been deciphered until now. trustees of the British Museum. Some of the omens may have been based on previously observed coincidences between the timing of eclipses and major happenings, according to George, an emeritus professor of Babylonian at the University of London. The origins of some of the omens may have lain in actual experience. Observation of portent followed by catastrophe, he told Live Science. Still, most were likely based on theories rather than real evidence. The tablets likely originate from Sippar, an ancient Babylonian city southwest of what is now Baghdad, according to the professor. They were used by advisors to the king to predict the future. Those who advised the king kept watch on the night sky and would match their observations with the academic corpus of celestial omen texts, the authors wrote in the study. To get a second opinion on the likelihood of the omens becoming reality, the advisors would study the entrails of sacrificed animals to determine whether the king was in real danger, according to the researchers. They would also perform rituals to ward off the bad omen and prevent the predictions from happening, George and Taniguchi wrote. Or the Babylonians would appoint a substitute king ahead of the forthcoming danger, so that person would bear the brunt of the god's wrath and eventually be killed, while the real king would remain unharmed, according to NASA. The Babylonian astronomers became able to predict lunar eclipses with a fair accuracy, the Space Administration noted. The finding comes on the heels of two ancient North American structures collapsing within just 9 days of each other. A pyramid at the Awatsio Archaeological Zone in the Mexican state of Michoacan and the Double Arch in Utah. But there's a more supernatural explanation, according to Purepecha tribe members. For our ancestors, the builders, this was a bad omen that indicated the proximity of an important event, Taria Quiri Alvarez told the U.S. Sun.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. Sorry for the little black screen on there. Got a little distracted. Here we are. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. It's nice to see so many people joining us live today. How are we doing? Good. Glad to have you here. We hope that we can capture you. Come back and join us again regularly here on rumble.com. We love Rumble. They've given us such a huge opportunity. So you should make sure that you download the Rumble app. Once you download it, search for my channel, AP for Liberty, and follow my channel directly on the app. That's going to make sure that you get a notification every time the Wake Up America show goes live. Click the link in the description that you see or the pinned live chat to download the Rumble app on your phone. It's totally free. If you prefer to watch us on the big screen, it's also available for Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Roku, LG, and Samsung TVs. All you need to do is search for Rumble on the app. And thank you to Rumble for hooking us up with this awesome studio. Thank you to all the live chatters and the fans who have been with us from the beginning. The Wake Up America show not only supports a new podcast network that's growing, we're going to have 2 brand new shows coming this fall, but it's also helping us to support the growth of my little family. My sweet little baby girl, Hazel Rose, was born just 2.5 weeks ago. Yes, cute little baby Hazel. She's almost out of the newborn phase. And we're starting to get a little bit more of a handle on the night feedings. So like last night, for example, she was kind of fussy for, like from like 10 to 11 p.m. And then at 11 p.m., we managed to get her to get knocked out. And then she slept all the way until like 3 or 4 a.m. this morning. So it was like, she slept for about 4, almost 5 hours last night. So we were feeling very good about that, especially Mama. Sweet little babies. Yes, we love Liberty babies here on the show. So your support of the Wake Up America show helps us to grow our business, our podcast network, helps me to support my family as well. If you've never heard of the 4 Liberty Network, it's because it's brand new. And the 4 Liberty Network includes the Wake Up America show that you're listening and watching to and watching right now. And it also includes 2 new shows that we're launching this fall. We announced this about a month ago that we're workshopping 2 brand new shows that will be a part of our 4 Liberty Network. And Rumble and Locals has been helping to put this all together. So we will be launching this network on Locals. So you'll be able to watch the brand new shows here on Rumble and on Locals as well. And the 2 new shows will be starring Daniela Pensack, who joins us for our Thirsty Thursday segments, and of Brian Piotr and the King Libertarian, king of all libertarians. We haven't announced the names of their shows yet, but I'm super excited to do so. We're working on all of the themes and the fonts and putting everything together so that you'll have even more great content to tickle your eardrums during the week. So I'm very excited to announce more updates with that coming soon. The For Liberty Network even has its own merchandise shop, which for some people might make you roll your eyes, but for us, we use it to make people laugh. And it's another great way for us to help support our business. When the white dudes for Kamala Harris came out, I was like, well, wouldn't it be funny if we had a white dudes for Donald Trump? Sure, because it's going to freak him out. Dude, the anger from the left was palpable. It's not racist when white dudes get together to support Democrats, but if white dudes get together to support Republicans, that is a no.
God! No, God, please.
But it's not just white dudes for Donald Trump. I just say that, Democrats aren't the only ones who can play the race identity card, so we should all rock our identities for Donald Trump, because there's plenty of black dudes who support Donald Trump, right? And we've sold Black Dudes for Donald Trump shirts as well. You can get these exclusively with my kind of like Fallout-inspired 1950s style design at forlibertyshop.com. We've also got white girls for Donald Trump as well. Look at that cutie. I'm looking for a girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, cooks food, is cute. White girls for Donald Trump shirts exclusively at forlibertyshop.com. You cannot get these anywhere else. Other than a few Chinese knockoff dealers, which immediately stole my designs and started selling them on the market from their Chinese bot stores. Mexican dudes for Donald Trump as well. We know there's a lot of Latinos for Donald Trump out there. That's right. I'm Austin Peterson, and I approve that message. Ay, por Dios, yo voy a votar por Donald Trump. La buena vida, la economía, hazlo por tu familia, a Latinos por Donald Trump. Thank you to Internet Moniker, Mariachi. Yes. It's the Wake Up America show. All right, so I had 2 entire guests. You want to hear the sad truth here? I had 2 guests, and neither one of them are here. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but let's go back to our story from earlier before. This is what I was advertising for the show anyway, which is that there's a new breaking news in the story of the Australian break dancer who went to the Olympics, and apparently she used her gender politics to conspire to prevent actual talented break dancers from making it to the Olympics. And there is now a petition to investigate her. Take a listen.
Rachel Gunn mystery deepens. Looks like there's some corruption going on in breakdancing Australia. Who would have known? So there's this change.org petition going around to hold Rachel Gunn and Anna Mears accountable for what went on with the breakdancing. Okay, so there was no governing body for breakdancing in Australia, obviously, because it's such a niche sport. So Rachel Gunn decided to create her own governing body so that she could get the wheels in motion to get breakdancing into the Olympics. Only it seems like she didn't do it very ethically, because she appointed herself as the head of this governing body. Her husband seemed to be the judge and also the coach for the qualifiers. And the worst part of this whole thing is it looks like she has blocked genuinely good kids who are breakdancers at being able to go to Sydney for the qualifiers. This is very Machiavellian of her. It looks like She has created this ecosystem where only her and a few of her friends and her husband could exist in, so that they were pretty much guaranteed a spot in the Olympics, and actual good breakdancers from underprivileged communities like the Northern Territory didn't even get a look in for the qualifiers. If true, this is terrible. This is total corruption. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because there's no other reason why she should have gotten through to the Olympic Games compared to these other kids who are genuinely good at breakdancing. When you look at their videos, they're actually really good. And we all know that she's not. So how did she get in and they didn't? The only explanation is that they didn't go to the qualifiers. They were either not told about it or they didn't have the funds to go. So she, Stephen Bradbury, it and got through anyway. Ray Gunn mystery.
That's right. And here is the petition. As you can see, it's at, let's see, 10,272 signatures. So it's crossed its initial goal of 10,000. Their next goal is 15,000 to hold her accountable for her unethical conduct for the Olympic selection. So these are people who are claiming that she essentially blocked actual talented female breakdancers. This, after we get this lecture from the supporter of hers. That,
what I can
listen to
say
this.
is that I love Rachel, and I think that what has occurred on social media with trolls and keyboard warriors and taking those comments and giving them airtime has been really disappointing. If you don't know Rachel's story, in 2008, she was locked in a room crying, being involved in a male-dominated sport as the only woman, and it took great...
Yeah, because we all know that there's not very women in dancing. You know, there's a dancing as a very male-dominated sport, that dancing.
Great courage for her to continue on and fight for her opportunity to participate in a sport that she loved, and that got her to winning the Olympic qualifying event to be here in Paris. She is the best breakdancer female that we have for Australia.
No, she's not, apparently, because she blocked other female breakdancers, allegedly, who were good from being able to gain access to the competition that they would have been able to, that we would have been able to determine her quality.
Now you look at the history of what we have had as women athletes has faced in terms of criticism, belittlement, judgment, criticism, and simple comments like they shouldn't be there. 100 years ago, leading into Paris 1924, Australia sent a team of 37 athletes. None were women. 100 years later, we have 256 women represented here. And Ray Gunn is an absolutely loved member of this Olympic team.
Yeah. So this is someone who's either lying for her, maybe she doesn't even know that Rachel Gunn allegedly prevented other actual talented female dancers from being able to compete against her for this performance. The fart sound is what makes it. So this guy here thinks that he's got his own conspiracy theory for Ray Gunn.
Breakdancing, but this is my entire feed right now, and for some reason she's getting a lot of hate over it.
What do you mean for some reason she'd get a lot of hate? I kind of disagree with this guy's premises, but let's go on.
No. But here's my hot take. She might be the one that's doing the trolling. Because as it turns out, Ray Gunn is actually a university professor named Rachel Gunn. And in regards to her breaking ability, it seems as if she was able to qualify for the Olympics legitimately.
No, you must not be up to speed. She was only able to qualify for the Olympics because she conspired to keep people who were qualified out.
And because I'm already down this silly rabbit hole, let's just press full send on this side quest. And so I downloaded and read her entire research paper, The Australian Breaking Scene and the Olympic Games, the Possibilities and Politics of Sportification. Like all academic papers, horribly confusing title, but when you get into it, it's actually kind of interesting. She says that breaking's Olympic inclusion has raised several concerns about the growing influence and embrace of transnational commercial organizations and institutional governing bodies in shaping and managing breaking's future.
Well, Fook is humbling us all in the chat, saying, "Does anyone here have a PhD in breakdancing? Didn't think so." Oh, you got us there, Fook.
Transnational commercial organizations, institutional governing bodies, where?
Yeah, like the one that she set up to prevent other people from being able to compete against her.
Those kinds of terms before. She continues, Australia's breaking scene is a collection of self-determined, localized, isolated scenes. The majority of competitions and events are organized by individuals with little or no commercial or public support, and so an outside entity like the WDSF making top-down decisions for the global breaking scene is going to impact how individual breakers experience and understand their scene. And she concludes, alongside concerns of increasing sportification of breaking, this trajectory points towards an
So she's concerned, she's writing in her piece about the concerns about the sportification of breaking, and yet she creates an institution to advance the sportification of breaking, which leads to the Olympics, which sportifies the institution of breakdancing.
Increasing loss of self-determination, agency, and spontaneity for local Australian breakers, and will have profound consequences for the way in which hip-hop personhood is constantly remade.
Right, so she says here, alongside concerns of increasing sportification, she says the increasing loss of self-determination for local Australian breakers. This petition alleges that she prevented local Australian breakers from being able to qualify. So it says here, Rachel Gunn set up her own governing body for breakdancing, manipulated the selection process despite the clear talent and qualification of other outstanding female breakdancers, meaning that there were other women. It was not the best female breakdancer in Australia.
Paris 1924, Australia's history of what we have had as women athletes has faced in terms of criticism, belittlement, judgment, criticism, and simple comments like they should.
Oh God, no! That we don't want that to happen. Women should not have to face criticism.
God, please,
they shouldn't have to face judgment. If you don't want to face criticism and you don't want to face judgment, why are you competing in a sport in the Olympics? Can you somebody explain this to me? You see, here's the thing. This is the gaslighting. They want us to think that we're crazy. They want to be able to say both things at the same time. And then when we call them out for saying, hey, listen, what you just said contradicts what you just said a moment before, well, then it's a problem because we're sexist, because this is a sport that traditionally has been male dominated, even though it hasn't traditionally been a sport at all. It's just been a bunch of people who like to get together and break dance. But let me ask you something. Is dancing in general something that is typically male dominated? Do men dominate dancing? Is it a male-dominated industry, the whole dancing industry? No. So how come nobody complains about that, right? Nobody complains that there aren't enough men in the Rockettes chorus line. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's complaining. Nobody wants to see that. There's no diversity, equity, inclusion standards that are putting men up there. How come we don't have a full chorus line of men as Rockettes? I know. I mean, listen, because we've already got RuPaul's Drag Race. I get it. But she wasn't the best that Australia had. She was advanced because she locked herself in a room crying over and made herself a victim, claiming that she deserved to be in a situation that she wasn't. That she deserved to appropriate someone else's culture, like the affluent white female liberal that she is, and that this is her birthright. She deserves this because she has a PhD degree. Do you have a PhD or a degree in this? There was a meme that went around like 6 or 7 years ago that sometimes people will share around where it's like, don't confuse your online research with my degree in political science. It's like, oh, she's got a degree. She's got a degree in political science, guys. She's got a PhD. PhD dumb. I just, now whenever I see someone with a PhD, if it's not in something like applied physics, right? Not even theoretical physics. If it's theoretical physics, I'm like, okay, Dr. Gordon, like go back to Black Mesa and do whatever experiments that you're doing, or, more than likely go back to your garage and like, play with batteries or something like that. But applied physics, yeah, I might respect somebody with a PhD in that. Or if you're an actual doctor who can perform surgeries or diagnose cancers or doing things like that, those doctors I respect. I have lost almost all respect for any. You might as well just think of them as like Dr. Phil, right? They're all like Dr. Phil, okay? She's the Dr. Phil of breakdancing. That's what she is. That's Rachel Gunn. I can't wait to see. I'm going to follow up on this story. I'm going to follow up on this story to find out where this petition goes and if there's any accountability. Spoiler alert, there probably won't be. And I see over in the chat that they're like, where's Angela McCardle? She just didn't, I sent her messages and she didn't respond. And then I thought I had Ian Howarth, but I screwed up the time on that one. So I just am still getting back in the swing of things after taking a week off and being sick. Sorry, guys. Hope that you're enjoying this. I know that I spent 2 days on like one topic, but I just thought it was fun. We had 1,300 people joining us here live on the show today. I hope you guys appreciated it and that you'll come back and join us here sometime really soon. If today was your first time watching the Wake Up America show and you did enjoy the content, click the like button under the stream and follow. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal wherever you're at around the country or around the world. You're like, I don't know this Austin guy. I'm not going to do this. I'm too busy or something like that. But it really does make a big difference in the lives of people like myself who are trying to put together, my dream and to support my family. So something as small as just clicking that follow button, it makes a big difference in the life of a fellow American. So think about this. I got a little sweet baby that I'm raising up there, and you can help us for free to support the show just by clicking the like button on the feed right now, or clicking the follow button too, and coming back and joining us here tomorrow morning would be great. Okay, we'd love it. We'd love to earn your support, and we'd love to have you join us. Whenever we exit the show, we always like to say, exit through the Grift Shop. And the Grift Shop is the word for our merchandise shop. We've got stuff that nobody else has. It's a patriotic superstore where eagles dare. So after the show's over, head on over to 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4. Click on 4libertyshop.com. Browse around. We've got a really good sale going on stickers right now. If you buy 2, you get 3 free. So just go put 5 stickers that you like in your cart and wait until you see just how inexpensive it is. Excuse me, it is. Hiccups are coming on. So head on over to 4libertyshop.com. Again, the number 4, 4libertyshop.com. Head on over there right now. Check out that merch shop and see all of the awesome items that we have on order. It's not just identity politics, t-shirts, and jokes. We've also got some really cool things like Gadsden flag shirts, American flag sneakers. We can also do some custom items as well. So phone cases, and we've got some American flag shorts that I designed. So all of the patriotic merchandise that you can shake a stick at number 4, 4libertyshop.com. So 4libertyshop.com. Check it out. We'd be very grateful to have you guys as custom. So do please check us out over there. We'd be very grateful to have you be a regular guest on the show. And of course, thank you to Rumble for hooking us up. If you're one of those people who use the phrase toxic masculinity because you're intimidated by real men who embrace their primal instincts, you should probably turn this off right now, literally. As a man, and as I well know, being a father to a little girl, I'm the rock that people depend on, just like you, right? You're a shoulder that people cry on. You're a fighter, a lover, maybe a protector to many. But Rumble has created a new product, Be Naked, as a brand that celebrates manhood and champions masculinity. Men with real balls, yes, actual balls, right? That share our enthusiasm for clean, non-woke, and agenda-free products dedicated to helping you dominate every challenge that life throws at you. Because we all know at Rumble here that life throws a lot at us. They test us, they push us and challenge us. So when life comes at you, you need to kick back harder. That's why you need to try Rumble's new company, their new brand, Naked Organs. It's a signature product to unleash your beast. Naked Organs comes from the purest and strongest animals on earth, the fearless bison. That's an American beast too. It's nature's multivitamin powerhouse. delivering endless energy, regulating hormone health, enhancing muscle recovery with natural creatine. So go to Be Naked right now and pick up some naked organs to embrace your manhood. That's benaked.com/studio and use the code studio to save 15% off your first subscription order. Celebrate being a man, getting healthy, living naked. So wife loves it when I walk around naked. Then putting your hard-earned dollars towards supporting freedom-loving creators like me on Rumble, not the woke mob. That's benaked.com/studio. Thanks so much, guys. And we'll see you here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show. Hopefully far less flies on the 4 Liberty Network. See you guys tomorrow.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit petersonvoicestudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP4 Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com. Thanks so much for watching the Wake Up America show today. The Wake Up America show is brought to you in part by our friends and sponsor over at Preserve Gold. Text the word Liberty to 50505 to get a free gold and silver information packet. Preserve Gold is helping people to invest in their financial future and their financial security. When you see the instability in the stock markets like what happened last week, you might be asking yourself, why didn't I invest in gold and silver sooner? And it might just be that you just don't know how. They'll send you a free gold and silver information packet if you just text the word Liberty to 50505. Again, text the word Liberty to 50505. Preserve your financial future. Preserve your financial freedom. Preserve gold by texting the word Liberty to 50505. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you right here back again on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty.